Welcome to the Node.js Build Working Group community meeting for January 16th, 2018. So far we have in attendance myself, Michael, Gibson, Kyle, and Joy. We're going to go through the regular agenda, which includes announcements, followed by going through the issues which are tagged build agenda. We have a bit of a smaller group today, so we may skip a few of those issues, but we'll see which ones we can get through. So starting out, anybody have announcements for the overall team? No, I think the only thing I'll mention is that's not in the agenda is on the Mac OS X side. I am looking to catch up with George and add in the 10.11s at least that we have, and I think 10.12s. There's just, I think we need one to get Ansible going, but hopefully that'll happen in the next few days. And that's about it. Okay, so moving on to the tagged issues. So first one is 1070, which is basically, please be careful when running code through the CI. I'm going to open that up and see who tagged that guy.
It looks like John tagged it to say, let's talk about end-of-life machines, i.e.
Right, okay.
CentOS 5.
Right, and he did add that he wanted that to be a priority. I think our major problem on those really is, well, the one that comes to mind for me is like supporting builds and versions, like making sure we don't drop support for some of those versions. Now, I don't know if any of the Fedoras are used for that, though. They're mostly for testing, right?
Yeah, I think it's just the CentOS that are the release machines.
Right. The other thing that comes to mind, too, is like, okay, in the context of the recent vulnerabilities, what information are we actually worried about that could be compromised through those attacks on the test workers, right? Like, I guess there are potentially some of the secrets that are used.
But they should only give you access to other tests. Like, you might be able to take down all the test info or use it to farm Bitcoins or something, but they shouldn't actually, you shouldn't be able to get access to the release, for example, or...
No, yeah, like release is separate, so we're safe on that front. It would just be like, I think in terms of like our rebasing and stuff like that, there is some credentials or something used to get access to that, but I'm actually not sure if that...
And that's just like not a staging, but like a caching. That's just where we cache the branches, right?
Yeah, we need them to go in somewhere. So yeah, I think we could take a look at, is it really an extra risk in our particular situation? Because we don't have any, all the information that's there is just being checked out from repos anyway. So in terms of, confidentiality, which is what I believe was the major issue, the only thing I could think of was if in our jobs or something we have some credentials or something like that that could be potentially exposed.
So I guess for the release machines, of course, that's not true, but then we should expect, I mean, how would someone exploit that? They'd have to get access to the machine first, right? At which point?
Yeah, well, exactly. Like it's that on our test machines, we do run more code, we run SIGIM, we run some, so there's more risk of code that we don't trust running.
Yep.
Versus the release machines, all we're running is the builds and tests, our builds and tests. So if the code gets into our code base, I guess the risk there is it could go out and get some of the things for like, that we use to push up releases and all that. But to get through the test and then to release, I don't think that's, that's a pretty long bar. And if they could get code in to do that, it could probably do even worse things, right? Like actually thinking about it, you could just, find the keys on the file system and send them off somewhere. So I don't think it's any worse than it was before.
Yep, I agree. And also with Spectre, as I understand, everything is vulnerable, and there aren't patches haven't been published because it's a more general attack, and
Right.
So I don't think even machines that aren't end of life aren't necessarily safe.
Right. So it sounds like we don't necessarily think that from the discussion, we are not sure that the new abilities drive a new need to remove older machines, right?
Yep.
We don't necessarily have. Right, because I guess you'd have to get code in which could run the attack to then try and get these credentials. And if you could already do that code, you could grab the credentials directly. So
yep,
potentially. Yeah, okay. So it's from the machines we don't necessarily have.
I guess one of the other things that was discussed, or that I've seen mentioned online, is that for hosting, like cloud providers, if there are multiple VMs running on the same host, they might be able to access another machine could access your data that way. And
Yes.
I think AWS has done a lot of updates to try and fix that, at least. So it might be worth checking that all the machines that we provision, especially for release, are on clouds that have been patched.
Right. So that's the key thing, is that the cloud has got the patches, like the thing running the hypervisor, not our OS instances themselves.
Yeah.
Because we're not really relying on the OS to provide any isolation in our case. Okay. Okay. So you move down. Perfect. Okay. If somebody made a copy somewhere else, that's good.
Yep.
Right. So then the next here, I'm just going to change these to stars. I think that's the preferred. So that it's less. So then the question is, okay, on this particular issue, what do we need to do in terms of, I think it was an FYI mostly for people, the original issue, right?
Yes.
I'm
not sure there's anything to discuss in the original. I think it was John's.
Right. Okay.
We should discuss this separately.
Right. So for the end of, not that we shouldn't, but maybe I'll take a final thing. Not that we shouldn't remove the end of life machines, but I'm not sure that this adds to that urgency. Yep. Okay, I'll just let you finish your. Actually, I guess in parallel. I was going to say in parallel. So, not that we want to remove older ones, just that. Okay, so. Okay, anything else we should talk about on that particular issue?
Not that I can see.
Okay, I'll take that as a no. So I'm going to move on to 1045, which is CI status is not posting. I'm opening that one up. Scrolling down. Discussion with rack space, but that's sort of a separate issue.
It sounds like the rack space issue is what John said wanted us to discuss.
Okay. Right. So I think that one, as I understand it, actually all of our machines are back.
Yep.
and things are good.
I think the only thing that was unresolved in that was whether you said whether the email should be forwarded to more people when there are problems.
Right. So discussion. Okay. Discussion was about rack space outage. Machines are back now. Remaining maybe just to make sure emails go to a broader. So I think we may want an alias or something like that. I forget what I actually set up.
It says in your comment, build.iojs.org.
Okay, so I created a new user, and I think then I must have put that user. So that's, but it's, do we want it to be broader than that study, than build, right?
So is build.iojs everyone in the build working group?
No.
Okay, so is it infra?
It's, I'd have to look at the group. It could be infra. I think the rationale for it actually being smaller is because a bunch of the, like the infra email, like, you know, reset your password and stuff would use that. I mean, thinking about it now, ideally we would have had like, you know, build admins or something, or build infra. Because it'd be good to have a build alias that goes to all build people, right?
Yep.
Although that same one, that one in particular, may actually be one of the ones that we wouldn't change anyway, because it probably does let you reset the password and so forth for that guy.
Yeah. Okay. This goes to Johan, you, Yoao, and Rod.
Right, and probably you should be added to that list, having been added to the infra, right? I don't know.
Yeah, there's quite a few. We've got build, accounts, admin. All go to the same. All go to basically the infra group.
Right. So maybe somebody use that one in the future. Like maybe the idea is we should be using build accounts. I think opening a new issue would be a good idea to sort of track that, because obviously the issue itself doesn't make sense. You want to take an action to do that, Gibson?
Yep, sure.
Send to open new issue to continue discussion and get to closure, because really there's not too much to discuss. We just got to probably a little bit and then actually just do something. The new OS infra walkthrough, that one I'm going to propose we defer to next time.
Sounds good. George isn't here to do it.
Yeah, George not here. I could probably do it, but I think it would be good if George and I both were there, and we'd want a broader audience to deliver it to.
Sounds good.
Until we have more people, the meeting and George help do it. Okay. Just as an aside, I have added some doc in the infra portion, but we need to pull some of that out and make it public as well. So, okay, Ubuntu non-LTS strategy. So that's 967. Opening that guy up. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's on the build agenda, but looking at the issue, I see mostly agreement, although not a huge number of people commenting. So I don't know, Joey or Kyle, do you have any comments on that one?
Just taking a quick look. No, I mean, I think like for Ubuntu, I typically think the newer the better for non-LTS. I don't think people hang around on. It seems like, at least from what I've seen, most people stick to an LTS unless they want to kind of keep in lockstep. And that's, I think, what it was basically suggesting is swapping
Yep.
Yeah, it's mostly sticking to the LTS releases and then keeping a smaller number of non-LTS ones in the mix. I mean,
Yeah,
if we
no,
find,
I
we
agree.
can always adjust if we find that, not having covered some of them are causing us grief, but I think we don't have any evidence that that would be the case.
Yeah, no, we can always backfill if we really find a need to.
Joey, you okay with that too?
I mean, Ubuntu 12.4.
No, this is 16.10. So if we, having added 17.10, do we still need to keep 16.10 basically?
16.
Last non-LTS release.
I don't see a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Rogers put this to make sure no one had any.
Yep.
Like to give everyone a chance to object, and I don't think anyone is. So.
Nope. I just said that. I just commented in the issue.
Yep.
Saying, discussed the meeting, no objections, and I've taken it off the agenda.
Cool.
Okay, let's just take a note there. Discussed, no objections, removed from agenda. Removed agenda tag. Okay. Remove Fedora 22, 23, and 24.
Right. So they're all end of life.
I'm not really plugged into Fedora as much, so I don't have a strong opinion on this. I know it's similar to Ubuntu non-LTS in terms of there's really no LTS versions of Fedora from what I understand.
Yeah, looking at the link Rod gave, they're all maintained for about a year, just over.
Right. Now I think if I look at the end of this, this is actually waiting for him to make a proposal.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say rvag for on. So it's sort of as a reminder to him, we're waiting on rvag for proposal, removing from agenda until that's ready. Make sense to everybody?
And maybe also say that there's no, I don't think there's any objection to removing unsupported versions.
Right. No general objection to removing unsupported versions based on discussion. I think, yeah, I think that's the way it was. It was just like, again, like Ubuntu, we were going to have some strategy that we could explain, well, which ones do we keep, which ones do we not, and so forth.
Yep.
Okay, and I will take that off the agenda as well. And take a quick note. Issue. Also removed agenda tag until that's ready. Okay. Remove Ubuntu 12.14.
Sounds like Rod eventually decided that maybe we shouldn't retire it.
Yes, okay.
And he was going to talk to Canonical. So I'd say same thing.
So looks like we... so just waiting on update from Rod, or... Okay. Waiting on update. Removing... Okay. Removing agenda tag until there is one. Right, yeah, because they were going to get longer term support on that.
Yep.
Which makes sense. If there it ends up being supported and used by lots of customers, then...
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, he's also, I know, been working on like containers and stuff, so it may get less and less expensive to support these. Okay, make it easier for people to join the build working group. 941.
Yeah, okay. I can take
Okay.
this. So
Sounds good.
basically, the idea being, I thought we discussed this. We
It's
discussed in the last
possible that
meeting.
we did and just didn't take the tag off.
Yeah. Basically, if we had the existing privileges you get, which is access to the test machines as a separate thing that we could give people when they needed it, we could make it easier for people to join the work group. Yeah, kind of like in automation, you can just, anyone can join and it's fine because obviously there's nothing, you have right access to repos, but it means that it's really easy for people to get started. Yeah. So I guess any thoughts, objections?
Seems like a reasonable split.
Well, I think we also, so I'm going to also take a note. I think we discussed an earlier meeting and no objections, right? And no objections in this meeting, right?
Yeah.
No objection.
Let's make it so. What do we need to do on this issue? So proposal, you've made the proposal, so I'm going to say discuss and latest.
I think if there's no objections, I'll just raise a PR to explain this, just make sure we document it, and then the next time I guess the onboarding document should explain that. And then the next time we onboard someone, we can see how it works.
Right. So the note I took, discussed in the latest, and I think earlier meeting, no objections, Gibson to raise PR explaining approach.
Yep, sounds good.
And I'm going to take it off the meeting because, yeah, I think being able to get anybody to get in, participate is a good thing. And then just you'll have to maybe like in that description include, well, how do you get that added? You know, how do you request that added capability or whatever, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay. Gibson to raise PR. So you're gonna raise PR that updates onboarding to explain.
Yep.
Oh, maybe I'm just gonna say our doc to explain to approach. Okay. File and directory names for downloads. This is number 515.
This seems like we should have pinged LJ Hub to say we were having a meeting and have him come and tell us what he thinks, unfortunately.
Right.
I think also this would be one where having Rod here would be useful.
Yes.
It looks like he's done all the work on this.
Okay, so how do we make sure we don't forget the next time to ping?
Well,
have we pinged LJ Harb at all in this issue? I guess so, right?
Yeah, he's been active in it, and Rich Trott suggested that he get involved in the next meeting.
Okay, so I'm going to say at LJ Harb. Yeah. Like, as long as we think it's okay to wait till the next one. Can you make...
It sounds like it's been going since 2016.
Okay. So that will be... What, can you look up the calendar and tell me which day?
6th of February.
6th of February?
It's early one, so it's...
At 4 Eastern?
Yeah, 2 hours earlier than this one.
Right. Okay, so I'll just ping him.
Yep.
And we will leave it on the agenda in that case.
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay. I note that down. Work. Herb.
ARB.
ARB, okay. In issue, he can attend next meeting. We want him in we want at least him and Arvag in the discussion. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of what we had on the agenda. Are there any other things people would like to talk about?
No, nothing comes to mind.
Okay, I think Q&A is now, if nobody else has anything to add to agenda, let's give people an opportunity who are watching, viewers, to post questions. You could do that by adding a question in the original issue itself, or in the IRC Node.js Dev. Let's wait for a minute or two to see if that happens. Just logging into IRC so that I can check there. I don't know if Gibson, you can check the issue while I'm doing that.
Sure.
Just to see if anybody's posted some things there.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. And on IRC, the last thing I see is my post to the issue asking if LJ Harb can make it.
Sounds good. In that case,
Yep. I think I'll just take no questions this week. No questions this week, and we can close out the meeting. And as we mentioned before, I think you said, what was it? February 6th is the next
Yep.
meeting at
right.
4 Eastern, the earlier time slot. So thanks everybody for taking the time to make it, and we'll talk to you then.
Cool.
Okay.
Nice quick one.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.